to another episode of Alf Soup. Today we're going to try a new segment called What's Hot and What's Not. And Katie Tierney, a good friend of mine, will join us to share what she has noticed in the world of IT lately. She has talked to more customers than we can possibly understand. And in addition to that, she has the confidence of the average guy who's in the sales organization, and she has learned from them as well. So I welcome her to my table.
Thanks, Alf.
You're in Vegas, are you?
I am in Vegas, yes. I'm in
Vegas. Is it warm?
It is very warm, and since I left Minnesota and there was a foot of snow on the ground and then another 5 inches, this is kind of nice.
Yeah, living in the mountains myself, I know what it's like. So what is hot and what is not so hot right now in the IT world?
You know, what's hot is really the customer experience. In IT, we have been so focused for so long on the back office. And what are we going to do with the back office, and how are we going to make it better? But what's happened in the world while we've been focusing on that is that the world has changed. The world has completely transformed around, Cognizant calls it the SMAC stack, right? Social, mobile, analytical, and cloud. Mm-hmm. And IT organizations are starting to recognize that if they're not smacking their customers, if you will, smacking their users, then they are not providing an experience that is valuable to their organizations. So this week, I'm here down in Vegas. We're at our sales kickoff, and I'm working with all of the sales reps. I'll actually be talking to every single sales rep in the organization over the next day. But today I had about 150 in a room, and we talked about customer experience, and everybody in that room was nodding and agreeing that that is the thing that their customers want, need, and that's what people are looking for. That's what's hot. Yeah. So what's not is the back office then.
So did that change happen? Is it part of the whole Apple-esque world that we're living in now? Or before it was Google-esque, but I think it's more shiny now, that everything is so easy, so pretty. People want to have a good time no matter where they are, whether at home or at work. The days of the blue screen it's not only is it gone, but there's like a reaction to it. We want quite the opposite. We want something that is absolutely fabulous, and we want it all the time. Is that what we're seeing?
Yeah, well, we expect it, right? I mean, when I download something on my iPhone, you're right, Apple-esque is the right word. When I download it on my iPhone, it's got to be slick. Yeah. And that's the experience that I expect when I use this thing, and it's the experience that other folks expect. And it's I think I'm going to play on your Apple words, the amplification of IT.
Great, another brand name. Okay, yeah. But I like it. I should use that actually next time I write a blog.
Yeah.
But what happened to cloud? What happened to virtualization? Did we get bored with that?
Well, I think virtualization, you gotta separate out cloud and virtualization, because cloud doesn't always mean virtualization, and virtualization doesn't always mean cloud. Mm-hmm. So I think virtualization, companies have gotten to the point where they're mature on the virtualization side. Right, they've got VMware in there, or they've got some other provider, and they've got their environments built up and ready to go. So I think that's more moved into maintenance mode. Cloud is still actually very important. Cloud, so many customers are looking for a way to improve their quality of service and reduce their costs. What they're finding is moving towards the cloud, so moving towards a SaaS model, is important for them to continue to grow their business. Mm-hmm. Kia Benia, our CTO, said companies are stopping, they're not looking at ROI anymore as return on investment. They're looking at ROI as return on innovation. And cloud provides that. Social provides that. Mobile provides that. Analytical provides that.
Mm-hmm. When I hear all these things, like social, mobile, SaaS, fancy, and having spent most of my career in startups and actually, dealt with trying to sell this, when I hear all the masses talk about it, I always wonder, do they know something I don't know? Do people actually understand how we can use social today? Do they really grasp the concept of mobility? or is it just cool words that they like to understand more about? Where are we in that evolution?
I think we're beyond the it's just cool words, as I think people are starting to understand exactly what those cool words mean and how they can be leveraged. And I think IT organizations, I think we'll see over the next, probably the next 18 months to 24 months, a change in the spending habits of IT organizations where we're going to be moving more dollars towards mobility, towards social, especially when we see, I'm going to put in a little product plug, and when we see things like MyIT that leverages all of that.
What is this MyIT thing? Tell the audience what it is.
MyIT is the coolest thing ever. I'm honestly saying that. MyIT is what makes cranky end users happy. That's the way I look at it. It's my elevator pitch. It is a location-aware, social-enabled front end for IT and the business, all on a device, a mobile device.
It's a mobile app, is it, or? It's
a mobile app today, and we're looking at other plans for longer term. But yeah, it's a mobile app today.
And I can try this.
Actually, we're using it here at our sales kickoff.
Oh, cool.
And bless their hearts, our sales reps are very good at selling software, but they're not so good at the technology sometimes. But they are in love with this, and they're using it to understand where they are in their agenda. And then they can use it. They've got a map that says, I can look up the room, and it tells me where the room is, and I can go to the room based on this map. It's really, really cool. And it gets people excited about the services IT is providing, because IT still suffers from that, they don't have a great reputation in business, and that's what we got to change. MyIT does that.
Why doesn't IT have a good reputation, and how can MyIT fix it?
I think it goes back to the customer experience. They don't have a good reputation because the experience that they provide their customers is oftentimes difficult, oftentimes slow. They don't provide, in a lot of cases, self-help and things that people expect. I mean, today, if I have a problem with something, I'm not going to call up somebody to help me. I'm going to look it up first and try and find the answer myself. And that's the way that, especially Generation Y and the millennials, that's the way they operate. Mm-hmm. So as we continue to bring in people who are far more sophisticated in their use of technology into organizations as they're coming out of university, they're moving into organizations, that trend, if IT doesn't get it and doesn't start implementing things like MyIT that provide those elegant user experiences, then we're kind of lost. IT is going to stay the same way with the people have a bad opinion of them.
And this is quite a drastic shift then from the traditional help desk experience to this. What about those people who are not very comfortable with a mobile app? For example, an average guy who has never really been outside the finance department. He's using his Intuit spreadsheets maybe. He has an Android phone, but he doesn't necessarily like to download apps. He's certainly not going to use a business app, or not intuitively going to use a business app like a millennial, like my daughters, for example. Are we going to just leave them by, or are they going to have to run real fast to catch up? Is the train leaving the station? Or good.
So I don't think that the train is leaving the station. I don't think they're going to have to run real fast to catch up. I think it's imperative on the software makers, the vendors, to provide an experience that does engage those types of people and drive adoption. And you got to work with IT organizations to do that. There will always still be other ways of accessing IT for help if you need it. But it won't leave the station.
Well, no, it's just because it's so easy to say, here's the future, and you better deal with it. That's not necessarily the best way to get that adoption that you're looking for. Just because it's cool and new doesn't mean people like to use it. But you're absolutely right. It has to be intuitive. One thing I'm thinking about is Chris Dancy, who will soon return to the zoo to talk about, well, among other things, the whole quantification thing and sensors and so on. One thing that I noticed with mobile apps or anyone noticed who follow the industry, is that there is an enormous amount of data that can be aggregated from mobile apps. So you have a new channel for big data, if you will. People do more here and so on. Can businesses use that? If you look at my IT, or if you leave that alone, whatever you see, how do IT organizations use all this new data that's coming in? They know more about people. I'm not saying that they need to understand what temperature a customer's skin is, although I do believe that one day we'll know the mode of the person who calls in, and actually the software to do that for us already.
Right.
Do you think that IT organization can soon learn to define patterns and find ways to use the input that they get from all these employees and become a better organization because of it?
Yeah, I think the big data and being able to leverage information that's coming from a mobile device to really provide predictive support. You got to look at it that way. Providing someone with an answer to a question they don't even know they have yet.
Yeah.
My favorite example of this is when we have password changes. And there's always a couple of people who, anytime they change their password, they call the service desk, and it's always the same problem. It's always that they forgot their one iPhone, and they didn't change the password on this one iPhone, and because of that, they can't get into the systems. So what if IT predicted that, you know what, Katie's going to have her password changed in a few weeks, and let's send her all of the directions the day before her password expires so that she understands it and she doesn't have to call. I mean, so I know that's it's a small use case, but being able to predict when someone's going to need help and leverage the data that are coming from their mobile devices. You know, I walked into a new building and support automatically pushes me a document that says, here is some information you need about this facility, for example. That's huge.
Yeah.
That is massive.
Any other trends you see out there? For example, SaaS. You are very closely engaged with various SaaS customers, and you know very well how not only right now people are saying, but how this changed over the years. Is SaaS old hat, or are people still looking at SaaSify or whatever you want to call it? Is that still the hot thing to go live?
Well, you've got companies like Adobe. Adobe is going all SaaS with their products. So all of their creative products are being delivered all SaaS. So I don't think SaaS has even reached the peak of its maturity yet. I think we still have quite a ways to go. And we'll see, as at BMC, we're focused on SaaS. We've got a huge SaaS market, and we're expanding it every day with new products, new technologies, and new customers. And customers are still looking for SaaS. There will always be some customers who are going to stay with all of their software in their own house for whatever reason, but SaaS is still growing, and it's going to continue to grow. Does
that mean that is on-premise dead, or do we see more of a hybrid?
No, it's more of a hybrid. There are certain applications that people will never put on the cloud because it doesn't make sense from maybe it's a firewall issue, or maybe it's a security issue. There are certain things that they're not going to put in the cloud. So when you develop a SaaS model and a SaaS offering, you've got to make sure that that SaaS offering can support those on-premise apps, and that's what we've done with all of ours. Everything works across hybrid cloud, really, is what it is.
Well, Katie, I really appreciate you taking the time and joining us here in the zoo. And I will send you back to Vegas, where
yeah, there's a casino or something downstairs, I heard.
I heard.
I don't know. Thanks, Al.
No, thank you. We'll be back in a week when we'll talk more about the consumerization of IT. Until then, take it easy and be safe.